Meghan Markle's desperate cry for glamour gets exposed. The Valentino rejection that shattered her Hollywood dream, it's a scandal you just can't miss. And Meghan Markle's vanity just took a gut punch of epic proportions. Picture this Meghan calling every fashion insider, begging for a seat at Valentino's funeral in Rome. A moment that should have been about solemn remembrance, turned into one of her most embarrassing missteps yet. But guess what? The world is watching, and it's all crashing down around her. Sources are talking, and they've laid bare just how far she's willing to go to keep her name in the spotlight. Not about mourning the legend, Valentino. Oh no, this was about securing herself a spot beside Anna Wintour, Donatella Versace, and the Cremo de la Creme of the fashion world. So let's dive in. January 19th, 2026. The fashion world was rocked when Valentino Garavani passed away in Rome at the ripe age of 93. The fashion community was in mourning, but not Meghan. Meghan's reaction? A scramble. She wasn't on her knees praying, she was on her phone, dialing every number she could, trying to carve her way into an event she had absolutely no business being part of. Her desperation to be seen in the same room as Hollywood's elite is nothing new. But this was a whole new level of embarrassing. The funeral was set for January 23rd at the Basilica Santa Maria de Angeli ed Martiri in Rome. And Meghan was hell-bent on making her mark. She didn't mourn, she didn't send her condolences. No, Meghan's first thought? Getting herself a spot among the who's who of fashion. And guess what? No invite. She got slammed hard, and now the leaks are coming in fast and furious. Hollywood insiders spilling the tea on Meghan's frantic phone calls, each one more desperate than the last, trying to get her name on that guest list. This wasn't about paying respects, it was all about access. Being photographed, rubbing shoulders with the industry's most powerful figures. And she thought she could pull the same stunt she did in Paris, crashing Fashion Week, begging to be let in. It worked there, why wouldn't it work now? But guess what? Valentino's circle wasn't having it. Meghan Markle wasn't part of their inner world, not even close. Sure, she wore his designs, but that's not enough to land an invite to a sacred high-profile event. She was seen as an outsider, a nobody trying to force her way into a world she simply wasn't welcome in. And what's worse? The world saw it. The humiliation was real.
Meghan Markle crashed Valentino Garavani's funeral in Rome uninvited, with entourage and big camera crew to film for her image rehab. Security booted her fast. No respect for the dead, just her brand. Utterly classic.
Everyone's talking about how Meghan Markle didn't get an invite to the private funeral in Rome. That, my friends, is the wrong story. The real story is that her private outreach became public. And that only happens when the room wants you exposed and not included, which is bad news for Meghan Markle.
Meghan Markle is in California with her wanting to be in the UK husband, trying to get back to the UK. But what is so alarming to me is this how Meghan continues to want to create these ripples in these other areas and parts of the world as she did a few days ago.
It is a lot of fun to see so much of the royal family and in such a strategic way to where we're learning a little bit more about them, but really their mission is to get these important causes out there.
You had to be creative, but today you click your fingers and you've got all these platforms beating a path to the doorway of Buckingham Palace or Kensington Palace saying, yeah, we'll make it.
We're going to the press conference when the restoration of the castle was finished. And it was announced that it had been done within the budget, within the time. The press was so disappointed.
This ripple effect happens in a lot of areas in Hollywood, people who are famous.
To tell you why I cannot stand Meghan Markle so much. After all, there are a lot of know-nothing, attention-seeking former actresses in this world. Part of it is because I do love the UK so much, and I think we effectively exported our worst cultural asset to hurt their royal family. And the other part of it, though, is the way that the media has always lapped up her obviously false claims and fed into her delusions of grandeur, which culminated in her and her husband, Prince Harry.
I have no idea where this came from, and as I told you and your producers...
I bet it came from Meghan's team. I bet you anything it came from Meghan's team. Come on.
Absolutely.
Meghan Markle just suffered the most humiliating public rejection of her life. And the leak has her absolutely furious, while Prince Harry was breaking down in a London courtroom, crying about his wife and getting scolded by a judge 3 separate times. Meghan's attempt to worm her way into Valentino's funeral isn't just a minor faux pas. It's a career-crippling move. Funerals are sacred, and Meghan crossed a line by using one for her own gain. This wasn't just a fashion event. This was a symbol of the kind of access she craved, and it blew up in her face. If Meghan had truly been a part of this elite circle, she would have been invited. But instead, she spent her time desperately dialing numbers, hoping for a miracle. She wasn't invited, and now that fact is out there for everyone to see. This wasn't just embarrassing, it was disastrous.
Valentino's work, we're learning today he passed away at the age of 93. Let me start with showing you the announcement and how we heard about this, Reed. This came through on social media just within the last hour or so. It says, Valentino passed away today at his home in Rome, surrounded by his loved ones. It goes on to say that a funeral will take place in Rome at 11 a.m. in the coming days.
Meghan Markle's relentless pursuit of fame has always been a headline-grabbing circus, but now the wheels are starting to come off the show. She spent the week of Valentino's funeral in a desperate frenzy, while her husband, Prince Harry, was in London falling apart in a courtroom. Can you believe it? Meghan's phone was buzzing non-stop, trying to worm her way into an event she had no business being at, while Harry, her ever-loyal husband, was sobbing on the witness stand, pleading about the absolute misery the press has caused her. It's an image straight out of a soap opera. In one corner, you have Meghan trying to force her way into fashion's elite circle, and in the other, Harry breaking down in front of a judge as if he couldn't find a way to keep it together for even a few hours. What does that tell you? That Meghan isn't just controlling Harry's public narrative, she's dictating the terms of his emotional existence. That courtroom was supposed to be about his privacy lawsuit against the Daily Mail, but somehow, every question turned into a cathartic breakdown over Meghan. It's not just tragic, it's exhausting to watch.
Prince Harry nearly broke down in tears in court today, weeping about Meghan Markle's misery. And he was told to stop arguing back by the judge. Well, Prince Harry was giving evidence in his privacy claim against the publisher of the Daily Mail and the Mail on Sunday in the High Court today.
Meghan was desperately calling fashion insiders trying to score an invitation to Valentino's funeral in Rome. She got rejected hard, and now Hollywood sources have exposed the whole embarrassing operation. This isn't just about a funeral. This is about Meghan's entire post-royal strategy collapsing in real time. In that same court, Harry was getting scolded for his inability to keep it together. The judge had to intervene multiple times, telling Harry to stop arguing and just answer the questions. Harry, unable to stop himself, broke down and cried on the stand, blaming the media for making his wife's life an absolute misery. But this wasn't a case about Meghan, and Harry knew it. His emotional outbursts weren't just out of place, they were incredibly revealing. Meghan had him so tightly wrapped up in her world that even in a legal case that had nothing to do with her, Harry couldn't help but make it all about her. And why? Because Meghan is the one calling the shots. It's not just about a failed career, it's about the toxic, all-encompassing way she has dominated Harry's life. The minute he stepped into that courtroom, the man was a mere puppet, tugged along by his wife's strings. And while Harry was sobbing about his wife's struggles, Meghan was hundreds of miles away, dialing up anyone she could find to get herself into the Valentino funeral.
Meghan Markle has always wanted to be an A-lister. Not adjacent, not inspired by. She wants to be on the inside. But she genuinely believed that marrying into royalty meant that she could simply just inherit elite status and that everybody would just swing the door open for her. Because the highest circles in Hollywood, royalty, fashion, finance, legacy power, it doesn't matter, your HR department, it will operate under one unbreakable rule. What happens on the inside stays on the inside, and everybody's hush-hush. Nobody talks about it, nobody hints about it, nobody has a source close to will say that they know about it.
It's painfully clear Harry's misery isn't just about the press, it's about the mess Meghan has created in his life. Let's get into it. On January 19, 2026, legendary fashion designer Valentino Gavanni died in Rome at age 93. Within hours of his death being announced, Meghan Markle went into overdrive. The real kicker?
The fashion designer Valentino Garavani once said he knows what women want, quote, they want to look beautiful. And he helped some of the most famous women in the world achieve exactly that goal. Valentino, as he was simply known, died today at his home in Rome. He was 93 years old.
Legend in the fashion world has died. We're just getting word fashion designer Valentino Garavani passed away today. after a life of creating beauty, the age of 93.
Meghan's meltdown wasn't even about mourning the men who had shaped the fashion world for decades. No, it was about her. She was more concerned with who would see her, who would photograph her, and who would be impressed by her mere presence. She thought she could manipulate her connections, exploit a tragedy, and force herself into an elite circle that has clearly closed its doors to her. But the fashion world saw right through it. They saw a woman who wanted to be part of a world she wasn't invited into, and a world that wasn't going to let her in, no matter how many phone calls she made. So while Meghan was working tirelessly to insert herself into the funeral guest list, Harry was embroiled in a disaster of his own. The world watched as he argued with a lawyer and broke down in front of the judge. His case had nothing to do with his wife, yet Meghan was the only thing he could talk about. Let that sink in. Not only was Harry in court for a lawsuit about phone hacking and privacy breaches, but his entire testimony turned into a sob story about Meghan. A case about his privacy became about her suffering. Because Meghan controls everything. She controls what he says, what he does, and how he feels. According to Hollywood insider Rob Shooter, Meghan immediately started quietly reaching out to Valentino's inner circle, hoping to secure a seat among the fashion elite. Let that sink in. A beloved icon had just passed away, and Meghan's first instinct wasn't to send condolences. It was to work the phones trying to get herself invited to his funeral. As it turns out, Tom Bower's predictions couldn't have been more spot on. You see, Meghan is a woman of calculated moves, always playing the game. But unfortunately, she isn't playing it well. Tom Bower has been saying for years that Meghan is a social climber who uses people for access, who craves the approval of those at the top but lacks the talent to ever truly belong. The Valentino funeral fiasco was just the latest example of her crumbling post-royal career. Hollywood doesn't want her, fashion doesn't want her, and now Netflix has pulled the plug on her projects. Everything Tom Bower said would happen, it's happening right in front of our eyes. The wedding, the royal exit, the Netflix deal, it was all part of her master plan, but now that plan is falling apart. Her cooking show bombed, her Netflix deal was a disaster, and now the fashion world is shutting her out. As if that wasn't enough, she couldn't even make it to the funeral of a fashion icon without humiliating herself. This Valentino debacle is just the latest proof of Meghan's imploding brand. Harry's courtroom meltdown only amplifies the tragic reality of their life post-royals. Meghan wants Hollywood stardom, A-list invites, and fashion world approval. Harry, on the other hand, wants reconciliation with his family. Their goals are fundamentally incompatible, and as long as they keep living in their Hollywood bubble, the cracks in their marriage will only widen. The question isn't whether they'll fail, they already have. The only thing left to ask is how much worse can it get before they disappear from the public eye entirely? What do you think? Is Tom Bower right about Harry and Meghan? Are we watching a marriage unravel in real time? Let me know in the comments, and for more updates on this royal disaster, be sure to subscribe with notifications on. Notifications on. Notifications on.